I am CJ Schmelzer, and I am a trainer here at Peak City Gym. Originally from Ohio. I grew up there and went to college there. Moved away when I was 22 to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and lived there for the last 9 years. And me and my family just moved here to the Durham-Raleigh area about 5 weeks ago or so. My favorite style of training is calisthenics and what I'd call like unconventional training or like strongman training, where you're using like sandbags and kettlebells and Atlas stones and stuff like that. Well, I have a young family. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. I have my wife, so a lot of my time is spent hanging out with them, whether it's at parks or museums or anything like that. And generally we just like outdoor activities, whether it's hiking or the beach or kayaking, camping, anything like that. Favorite cheat meal is pizza. My least favorite exercise is what we called back in high school cross country Zimmerman's, which is basically a jumping split squat where you jump and you switch your front legs and you jump and switch back. And it was usually used as punishment when we were screwing around on our long runs, getting into shenanigans and not doing what we were supposed to be doing on a long run. Favorite exercise is pull-ups, because it's really one of the few strength exercises that I'm better at than people that are bigger and stronger than I am. My favorite hack to get back on track is to just create an environment that's going to be that eliminates speed bumps from what you're trying to do. So for example, if your diet's off track and you're eating like crap, the first thing you got to do is eliminate all the junk food in your house and replace it with good food, and then meal prep. So that way you don't even have to think, you don't have to use any willpower for the rest of the week. All your meals are ready to go. You don't have any temptations in the household. So you set yourself up for success when you create that environment to eliminate any speed bumps or obstacles. I kind of said it right there with the last answer, but I think for someone just starting out is to really find something you enjoy doing, whether it's yoga or powerlifting or anything like that. Find a training modality that you enjoy, and then kind of take small steps, introduce it into your lifestyle, and then figure out how to fill in the gaps. You know, so if you really enjoy yoga, start doing yoga, get to like a daily practice, and then understand that you're probably going to have to find some strength training to complement it. But I think the most important thing is to find something you enjoy, because enjoyment then encourages consistency and ultimately adherence to that exercise. The worst fitness advice, and I don't know if it's advice or if it's more of like a trend that you see on social media, but it's especially for beginners, you'll see all over the internet and social media that like this thing is optimal and all the rest are not, or like this way of training is dangerous and you should only be following my system or whatever. And ultimately all that's wrong. There are safe and dangerous ways to train in really any modality. And it's really just about doing things properly and safely. And when it comes down to it, you just have to do something that you enjoy. And it's not about worrying about what's optimal or what the human body is designed to do, or things like that. So My favorite high protein snack, if you consider hard-boiled eggs a snack, I would say hard-boiled eggs. If not, then Greek yogurt is a close second. Well, I lived on a sailboat for 2 years when I lived in Hilton Head, and I would frequently take friends out sailing on the weekends when we weren't working. And this is probably one of the worst experiences I had sailing. And it's important to preface that me and the friend that I took with me were severely underexperienced as sailors. So we went out, we're sailing out around Calabogie Sound, and I went down below to get us a couple beers. So I had him steer the boat, which was my first mistake. And I'm down digging in the fridge looking for a couple beers, and I hear him yell out from the cockpit. He's like, "Hey, is it normal for the boat to stop moving?" I'm like, "What the heck are you talking about?" So I run back up to the cockpit, and we had run aground on a sandbar that was clearly marked by a channel marker that was about 20 yards away from the boat. So not only should I not have trusted him to steer the sailboat, but I also apparently should have educated him on how channel markers work. So the problem there was that the tide was also going out, so we had to quickly figure out how to get off the sandbar, which is not an easy task with a heavy sailboat. But we managed to make it happen, and we were out sailing around for a couple more hours, started making our way back to the marina, and maybe about a half mile from the marina, we ran out of fuel, which is an issue because you don't want to be under sail power when you're making your way through a busy marina. So we had to kind of just bide our time and hang out and wait until we saw a boat that was carrying external fuel tanks, because that's who we needed to give us some extra fuel. And fortunately, we saw a friend we knew who was out on a boat with external fuel canisters, and he was willing to give us one of his very expensive tanks of fuel so that we could make it back to the marina.
Hi, I'm Brendan Rabideau, and I'm head of performance here at Peak City Gym. I am from a little bit up and down the East Coast, so was originally from upstate New York. That's where I was born, and that's where a lot of my family still lives. Moved down to North Carolina for about 10 years or so, made the trek back up to Rhode Island, and then moved back down to North Carolina around the time I went to college. My favorite style of training, I like to do a lot of Olympic lifting. So things like hang cleans, push jerks, things like that. The way I work out mostly would be probably more splits with push pulls. So we'll do like an upper body push, lower body pull, break it up like that. So still seems like a total body. I have so things I do outside of the gym. I have two young daughters, so I spend a lot of times at in parks and at playgrounds, messing around with them. Spend a lot of time with my family, doing fun stuff with my wife. We love going to the beach when it's that season, and anytime we can get out there. My favorite cheat meal, if you can consider donuts a meal, I would say donuts. However, if you don't consider that a meal, I would have to switch over to probably some good buffalo wings. Extra crispy, of course. Oh, that's an easy one. Least favorite exercise, got to be burpees. Would avoid burpees at all costs. Anything that was used as a form of punishment in sports is usually something I tend not to like. Favorite exercise would have to be hang cleans. I think they're fun. They make me feel like I'm still an athlete sometimes. So that's a good feeling. Back when I was starting to get into fitness, and I learned a valuable lesson not to blindly follow, fitness advice. Now, this happened to be from, my brother Shane, but we were doing, extremely low carbs. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. Like I said, I was blindly following. And then unfortunately, once I figured out, that a lot of the things that I was going through, I was getting agitated a lot. Didn't really know why I was getting agitated, which would make me more agitated. And then when finally Shane kind of broke things down for me when I was starting to kind of get at the end, my initial reaction was, why would anyone do this to themselves? Uh, so ended up going to Myrtle Beach with my wife. Uh, Ended up introducing carbs back in not the healthiest way. Ended up gaining all of my weight back plus some, and then had to now maneuver my way back into, okay, how can I lose this weight back, but something that is going to be a little more sustainable than what I was doing. Not to say low carb is bad, but it did not work for me. The biggest hack I would say that helps me the most, and I assume would probably help the majority of people, would be to go to bed. Too many times falling asleep on the couch, fighting to stay awake, and fighting off those like little head nods that we do. When we start feeling like that, if we would just go to bed, you know, we'll probably sleep a lot better instead of fighting to stay awake just to end up only with 4 or 5 hours. So if you just go to bed, get a better night's sleep, feel better the next day, then you're going to be more likely to stay disciplined or have a little more self-control when you see those donuts lying around. So high protein snack. My favorite would probably be just making it simple. Greek yogurt. I tend to put a scoop of chocolate protein powder. I'm a big chocolate fan. So mix that in, and then taking some raspberries. Something about chocolate raspberry just always seems to hit the spot. The worst fitness advice for sure is the no pain, no gain. I've been in a lot of pain and not had made any gains from them. So I think it's there's a place for it, but I think it's misunderstood a lot. There is some pain, muscle soreness, things like that. People don't tend to realize that when a joint hurts, that may not be the best pain. So I think it's often misinterpreted, which would probably make it the worst fitness advice to give. I would say a couple of things. Focus on building muscle with an emphasis on longevity, right? So there's a lot of ways you can build muscle. Some are great, and then 20 years down the road, you have torn up your body, things start to hurt, but hey, you got a lot of muscle. So focusing on the longevity, of your training, knowing that you're in this for the long haul, that this isn't just, hey, I have to get ready for a bodybuilding show. Most of us are not bodybuilders, especially, the people that, we tend to work with. We're not looking to get, stage ready. So focusing on the longevity, being patient, and something that I wish somebody had told me a long time ago, especially in my earlier days, is to not lift with your ego.
I'm from Pennacook, New Hampshire, really small town. We're a village of the capital, so not very many people there. But since then, I've kind of been all over the country, coast to coast, moving around a lot. My favorite place was probably Raleigh, where we're here right now. I just enjoyed the balance of weather and culture and all of that. My favorite style of training is kind of bodybuilding-esque training, where you're just focusing on feeling the muscles, building strength, and just feeling good while you're doing it. My favorite things to do would be things like in the woods, like the backcountry, camping, hiking, fishing. But on top of that, I really enjoy cooking and just experimenting with different foods and challenging myself to cook new things. My favorite cheat meal would be ice cream. I think with the amount and volume of ice cream, that does definitely qualify as a full meal, specifically Ben & Jerry's milk and cookies. My least favorite exercise would be the rear foot elevated split squat. no matter the amount of weight, the repetitions you do, it sucks. And I'm always sore in my glutes and my quads, again, no matter the weight, the repetitions, or whatever. Just doing it is uncomfortable. My favorite exercise would be the incline dumbbell bench press. I just love how it feels. I like the muscles that it works on specifically, and I feel like I can always push myself, and I feel good pushing myself, and I don't hurt afterwards. My favorite hack or tip to get back on track would be to focus on protein, making sure I eat enough protein throughout the day and throughout each meal. Once I get that, everything else just kind of falls into place. I'm focused on some aspect of my health and wellness, and that usually gets me in the right mindset to stay honest with myself for the rest of the day too. The advice that I would give someone who's just starting out would be to start really small, almost like you feel guilty with how small it's going, and just build consistency with that. Focus on building muscle in whatever you do, enjoying and finding enjoyment in the thing that you're doing, and just sticking with it until you feel like you can add more to your life. The worst fitness advice that I've heard or seen is pushing through pain and just accepting the fact that you're going to hurt. I think we need to identify what kind of pain it is, whether it's a joint pain or just a muscle fatigue pain, and like really understanding what our body's feeling and how it's feeling when we're working out or after we're working out. If you feel something in the joint, it's probably a bad thing. So we want to be able to feel it in the muscle, push ourselves to the point where maybe we aren't walking some days, but we're at least pushing ourselves to be consistent with showing up to the gym and showing up for ourselves. My favorite high protein snack would be beef jerky or Greek yogurt. I'm pretty basic with my Greek yogurt. If I'm feeling frisky, I'll add some cinnamon and honey or maple syrup. But generally speaking, it's just plain Greek yogurt. One of my most memorable stories was right before I moved to Raleigh this last time. I went on a month-long road trip to out west, and this was in December of 2024. So going to the Northwest in December, it's wintertime, I decided I wanted to camp and hike my way around the Northwest. One night specifically, I was on my way to Bend, Oregon, and I wasn't going to be able to make it that night, so I had to pull over and camp. And what I was doing for camping was dispersed camping. Essentially, there's no facilities there. It's just kind of the empty plot. And the dispersed campsite that I chose was off the main road, and it was just this backcountry road. It had snowed recently, and the only like tracks were just one truck track that went out there. I was just driving through deep snow in my Mazda CX-5. It was like 5 miles out on this country road with just one other truck that had ever been out there. And then once I got to the dispersed campsite, it was just almost like a field. There were a couple bare trees, but it was just a field off of this road. So I had to dig my parking spot out so I didn't get stuck overnight and like freeze my tires the snow. So I dug my parking spot, moved my car over off the road, and then I had to go find a camp spot where I felt like the wind wasn't going to be too miserable because, again, not really many trees, and there had recently been high wind warnings, like up to 70 miles an hour. So I was kind of stuck with having to make something work. And I finally found a spot where there weren't trees overhead, where they were going to fall on me overnight, and I could get some relief from the wind. And then I spent the next like 3 hours building a snow wall with the snow that was already there, just kind of chunking out blocks of snow, building it up around my tent site, put my tent down, and then overnight it snowed like another 1.5 feet of like wet, heavy snow. And throughout the course of the night, I remember waking up and just kind of having like the tent collapsed on my head. So I'd have to like brush it off, and went back to bed, and then woke up again, sleeping in a tent in a sleeping bag with my dog there, and he was having a great time. And in the morning I woke up, it was like 3:30, and there was just so much snow. I was afraid of not being able to get back out. Again, this wasn't a maintained road, so it already snowed so much. I just packed all of my stuff up, soaking wet, snow everywhere, and was trying to get my dog and myself into my car and then drive out on this backcountry road with no lights. And I was kind of plowing myself out the road the whole time, like my bumper was just dragging snow and just pushing it out of the way as I was going, not to mention trying to gather my dog who was off leash in the blizzard in the middle of the night with no ambient light whatsoever. So it was terrible. And then once I got on the main road, it was a blizzard all the way to Bend, Oregon, which was like another 120 miles. So a long drive going 30 miles an hour with just wispy winds and wet snow everywhere. On the way out there, I was like, I'm probably maxing out the height capabilities of this. And then overnight it snowed another 1.5 feet. So the whole way back, I was going like 10 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour for 5 miles on this road, just trying to stay on the road because there's gutters on either side because it's just a dirt road, trying to stay in the lines, which I couldn't really see because they got filled in overnight, just 5 miles an hour, chugging along, dogs in the back freaking out because he just wants to go play in the snow. Just
Oh my God.
made it out and pitch black, made it onto the main road. And then again, just so slow going 30 miles an hour on this highway.
Yeah, that was my other question. So how long did it take you, especially going 30 miles an hour, 120 miles?
Took like
Was
6
that
hours.
the next like big town or city? Like,
Yeah, it was just like the eastern portion of Oregon is barren. Like you have the mountains where Bend and Eugene and like all the major cities.
Yeah.
On the west side, it's just desert and like prairie.
Wow.
So I went, it was like 300 miles. It was an entire tank of gas. Like I made it from gas station to gas station. And that was about all my car had.
Yeah.
Because it was just, there was nothing. I think it puts it into perspective of what I can do, but also enables me to keep doing the things that I love to do. Like none of the things I do are easy. They're challenging both cardiovascularly, but also strength and endurance, like muscular endurance. So being here, doing exercise and working out and being cognizant of my health and wellness enables me to continue to do these crazy things, but also give me leeway to get into these crazy situations while also having confidence that I can get out of them if I need to. When I first started, it was definitely, I just loved exercise. Like for 7 years, I didn't miss a single day of exercise. I either ran or I worked out, sometimes working out twice a day. And then after that, as I've aged and kind of gotten more perspective, I don't enjoy exercising. I just enjoy the benefits of the exercise, whether it be like aesthetics or whether it be capabilities to go out and do the things that I actually enjoy. Like, yeah, I think there is this huge misconception of trainers love working out. I think at one point we did, but then we started doing it as a job. And I think any hobby or passion that you do because you love it and then you turn it into a job, you eventually don't start to hate it, but you start to lose that like intense passion to do the thing.
Yeah.
And we just kind of keep doing it because we do love it, but it's also how we make money.
So I'm Shane Rabideau, and I am general manager of Peak City Gym. I was born in Rochester, New York, and then I've lived in a few different places up and down the East Coast, including Rhode Island, Maryland, New Hampshire, and then most of my life now, collectively, I've lived in North Carolina. So my favorite style of training is probably what most would consider functional strength training. So it's a lot of things that carry over into your everyday life outside of the gym as well. So outside of the gym, I spend a lot of time with my family. I have 3 kids. One of them is only 2 years old, so she requires a lot of attention and time. I'm also fortunate enough to live near my brother and his family. He's got 2 young daughters about the same age as mine, and then my parents are close by as well. So spend a lot of time there, going to baseball games for my son and things like that. My favorite cheat meal is really just any buffet of baked goods, really, I would say. I have trouble around that, so it's hard for me to just pick one. Where do I find buffet of baked goods? That's honestly going to be my pantry or anywhere like that. Oh, my least favorite exercise, that one's easy, burpees, for sure. My favorite exercise would probably be the landmine rotational press. One, I think it's fun to do. Two, there's a lot going on, so it's a good bang for your buck exercise. Ooh, a memorable story. So one time when I was going to Orlando, Brendan was with me and we were going to a gym owners mastermind meeting. And both on the way to Orlando and on the way back from Orlando, I had all of my supplements in my bag. I figured it would be better to take the actual containers rather than just Ziploc baggies full of white powder in and out of Orlando. But that did not matter to TSA. They flagged me anyway. Both times, on the way there and on the way back, I had to get patted down, everything searched, and they tested each one of my powders individually, which they never gave any of that back, so they wasted a lot of good protein, creatine, and pre-workout. But, you know, that's just the price of being healthy and traveling. My favorite hack or trick to get back on track really isn't much of a hack or trick, but I do like to find something that's challenging that I haven't done before, or maybe I have done it before. And typically for me to get back on track, I'm talking about nutrition. And so something that's challenging, whether it's, you know, I need to eat this amount of protein for, you know, the next 4 weeks, or, you know, maybe I'm going to try a fasting protocol or something like that. I need something to keep me interested and engaged. And usually if I have a goal or a timeline, something like that, that helps me to get back on track and focused. Oh, my favorite high protein snack is Chomps all day long. Jalapeno for sure. There's a lot of bad fitness advice. I think the main thing, especially for the people that we see here at Peak City Gym, is when they think that they have to do a lot of cardio first. And so, you know, maybe their goal is weight loss or they want to tone, and they just think as long as my heart rate is high and I'm huffing and puffing and sweating, then they're going to achieve that goal. And typically that's not the case, and you do want to focus on strength training. So I'd say, you know, going with cardio first and trying to lose weight and then build muscle or get toned or get fit, that's kind of the opposite of what we would want to do. Someone just starting out, I would say to be very intentional with what you're doing. And it doesn't mean that you have to focus on all of these things all at once, but be intentional with your goals. Be intentional about, you know, your form when you're performing the workouts. Be intentional about what you're eating. And you may only choose one of those things, but be intentional about it, focus on it, you know, hit that mark. And then, you know, when you've got that under your belt, then go ahead and move on to the next thing and be intentional about that as well. And that's how you're going to build healthy, sustainable habits in the long term.